Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Orange County IDA's Governance Committee together. It's 4:04 in the afternoon. Bill, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Linda Muller.
Here.
Giovanni Palladino.
Here.
Dean Tamburri.
Here.
Jeffrey Chris.
Here.
Dr. Vincent Odock.
Here.
5 of 5 members present.
Excellent.
We also have staff, myself, Joe Fioravanti, Kelly Riley, Marty Barras, Mr. Jose Rojas. We have our counsel, Rudy Zoda, and we have on Zoom, we have Mr. Brian Sandvidge, our New York State Monitor.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Everyone received the minutes from the last meeting. I hope you had an opportunity to review them. I entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Any discussion? Any changes? There being none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the minutes, if they've been provided to you, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Okay, Bill, you're going to go over the UTBP revisions?
Yes, so our Uniform Tax Exemption Policy, more fondly known as our UTEP. We reviewed the first draft that you saw last month, and we had some positive feedback from the group, and we had a few things that we wanted to amend. I just want to point out what those amendments are.
Okay.
And then I think Rudy has a couple of items, I think typographical of nature. So first of all, on page 2 of the UTEP, page 6 of your packet, so the bottom right is page 6, the bottom right number, under priority commercial and residential, we talked about an either-or scenario that we added where in order to qualify 10% of your units, first of all, we did 20% of your units being at 80% AMI, and then we add the either-or, either that or 10% of the units at 60% AMI. The thinking being that 60% gotten strong feedback that that's really a sweet spot for AMI, where workforce housing, where it's needed, but it is more aggressive. It does cut into a profit margin there. So that's why we went with a 10% if you're going to go as deep as 60%, and again 20% at 80. So you have that either or in there on that page 2 of the UTEP. And then on the approval policy, which is page 13 of your packet, I'm pointing out where we eliminated something. We eliminated altogether the agriculture section from this area. So agriculture, it's not off the table, it's just would qualify for a standard pilot of 10 years if it is proposed. We were looking at high tech, ag tech, some really interesting projects there, but we think that if those are really transformational projects, they'll come in at the jobs pilot really, which will come in at more than 100 jobs, high paying with special benefits and such. So we figure it'll be captured there. But after much debate, we took agriculture out altogether. And the recapture policy is the last section. And that is beginning on page 16 of your packet, and there were no changes to that. So just those couple of changes. And Rudy, if you're able to and ready, if there's anything else you want to point out, because I am hoping that, certainly looking for a further discussion, but otherwise, with whatever changes Rudy wants to point out, I'm hoping that we can, plan to make those amendments, and that this group votes to recommend to the full board approval of the UTEP with those changes. That's what we're seeking. Rudy, what do you have?
Upon our review, the UTEP was fine. We thought it was acceptable, and we have no substantive or typographical changes to make to it.
Okay.
With respect to the approval policy, again, the substance of it was acceptable.
Excuse me, where are you?
Recapture, page
Oh,
16.
recapture, okay.
Well, now you're
I'm on
project
approval, page 11.
Oh,
There
sorry.
you go.
No,
There you
that's
go.
okay, that's okay. I like to be following something.
Yeah.
I apologize. Go ahead.
No.
So in section 2, subdivision 1, subdivision B, in the second line, it says extend, and that should be extent.
Extent.
Okay.
Page 11.
Okay, yep.
B, extent. With a T, thank
Yep.
you.
And on the next page, page 12, in subdivision K, I don't know if it meant to say school districts, but it just says school A right now, so at least the A needs to be removed.
I'm sorry, what line?
K,
Okay.
it ends with school A.
Oh, there,
Yeah,
isn't
it
it?
doesn't make sense.
No, I think we will add districts there.
So the word district will be added?
Yes, districts, plural, yes.
And at the very end of section 1, under M, in the boldface print, where it says the word conference, and maybe the word conference was what was intended, but I think the proper word would be conferral.
Okay,
And that's on page 12 too?
still on page 12.
Oh, right here.
There it is, yep.
Yeah.
The word you're saying, what you're recommending is
Confer.
Conferral.
conferral.
Can you just explain that a little bit, exactly what that says? What that means, so probably for approval, or what does conferral mean in that instance?
It means the providing of,
Okay,
and conference is not the correct word to convey that.
great.
And as far as the recapture policy is concerned, a couple of recommendations. I'm on page 18. At the very beginning, it says the agency shall evaluate annually as of December 31st, or at any time information is brought to the agency's attention. In our experience, the applicants or the entities that have had benefits conveyed to them have till the end of the year to conduct their audits, and they don't actually provide them to the IDA, usually until January 31st, February 15th. So I think that we should push that December 31st date back to give the parties time to provide you with their audit so that you can review those documents.
Let me just check, Brian Siemens, you're able to follow everything Rudy's saying?
Yes, I think the idea is that it was effective 12/31. Already to your point, the entities need the ability to audit and get that in. So you probably are 45 days into the new year for the actual reporting of the data that is with an effective closeout date of 12/31.
So would it be safe to say that we put a timeline 30 days after audit completion?
Yeah, and I would just add some collar to it, that they can't drag that out into the spring, that the audit doesn't get done until May and you're not getting it until June. But I think you could have some reasonable point, 30, the audit has to be completed within 45 days of the year, and they've got some period of time to supply it, 30 days. So then if you did that, you would have your, by 45 would give you the middle of February plus 30 the middle of March, that everybody would have it in. That would give everybody, I think, more than enough time if you're looking to put a hard date in there.
I'm just thinking that not every organization has their audit at the close of the year. I'm just thinking of when I worked, our audit didn't take place until April, and the release of the audit to the board wasn't until May and wasn't approved until June. So if we were in this position, we wouldn't have audited financials.
I read this originally as the agency shall evaluate annually by December 31st. So it's not to say that we get it done each year by the end of the year. It's as of.
One would need to review the audited materials that the applicants or the organizations have provided to the IDA. Typically, in project documents that we prepare, we put in a February 15th date whereby the applicants need to provide all of their sales tax expenditures, their job reporting, and things of those nature, so that the IDA can ensure that they're compliance with the terms of the lease or project agreement.
Shouldn't this correlate with our letters requesting, I think, basically the same information for our parish report, which is due March 31st?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just questioning that that's the intent of that date in there. That it's even about that. I thought it's more like what Brian said is an effective date.
Is it for the previous year or the?
Brian, we're not
Or
hearing you
the
now.
or the next year,
Yeah, which year?
It's for the
You're not muted
previous year.
either.
Well, and you would put that in,
Barely.
so it would say
Very
for
low.
the previous year.
Correct.
So just, again,
You got really quiet for some reason, Brian.
I'm just using
I'm
my
sorry.
organization
But I think
as an
it's
example.
separate from the financial statement, so it's not the financial statement, it's the audit of where they are on their sales tax side. To your point, your financial statement audit would be tied to your fiscal year, which that could be into the fall, as to when those docs are actually prepared. I think that the information, it's the effective date of 12/31, and then some point after that, but not tied to the entity's full financial statement.
I'm sorry, Linda, you were saying?
So this is just specific to local sales tax? I mean, we want to expand our business to not-for-profits. Not-for-profits don't collect sales tax. So what indicator what are we using? Again, I've got, back to when I was working, December 31st, we had unaudited financials that were done by my finance department. And then the outside independent auditors came in, did their field work, did their review, presented the financial audit to the board in April. The board would look at it in either May or June, would approve the financials based on their discussion. So I understand you've got two different kinds of businesses. You've got for-profits and not-for-profits. So I just want to make sure that we're clear with all organizations who might want to take advantage of, a pilot or something else. And what test are you going to use?
The paragraph is asking for them to provide sales tax expenditure statements and their job creation or retention numbers, as well as the amount of investment into the project they've made. And those are the three main components to comply with the terms of the project agreement that the IDA needs to examine on a yearly basis to ensure that they're in compliance and determine whether or not, a recapture event has occurred. So I'm just saying that it's for each calendar year looking back, but they don't usually provide those facts and figures until after the year end. We typically ask February 15th, which I think was similar to the 45 days that Brian had referred to.
And so these are not audited, these are non-audited. Okay,
Correct.
okay.
So this is just information that they've had, it's not like it doesn't have to be an audited statement, it's just something
Yeah.
What's our letter say that's requesting, I think, some of the same
Yeah.
information annually?
Typically, the projects don't get their New York State 45s until January 31. And then we ask for all this information within like a 2-week period. I don't know what your date is for next year, but
So,
so we can get that information because we need to give that information to our financial auditors, and we also need to get that information to the Paris reporting people, and we have to have both of those done by March 31st.
Yeah.
so what verbiage do you recommend changing here? Do you have a recommendation?
I was just recommending that it be changed from December 31st to February 15th.
You okay with that?
I'm fine.
I am, and I don't know if there's February 7th that Marty just mentioned.
They should
It's
go
okay
along.
if it's a week earlier. for our letter compared to what's in our policy. Maybe that gives us a little extra cushion.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
what- yeah.
Yep,
So then it's gonna read that the agency shall evaluate annually as of February 15th.
Correct.
Do we have to say February 15th
Of the
of the, for the,
previous
for
year.
reviewing for the previous year,
I
or
think
do we have to be clearer?
so. I think so.
I can, yes.
Okay, so what we would say February 15th, how do we say it? Because I don't want it to look like February 15th in the current year, it's gotta be February 15th, the review of the previous year.
Of the previous year's activities.
Yeah.
Of-
I would say that the agency shall evaluate the items listed there, the local tax benefit violation, job, provided by the applicants by February 15th for the previous calendar year.
That's clear.
He said 15th, and we said 7th, correct?
I think the 15th is where we were, we talked about the 7th, but the 15th is where we're.
Yeah, the 15th in the policy.
Okay.
7th is our,
Put cushions the other way.
our,
Alright,
our
so-
deadline.
So we're gonna remove that hold as of December 31st. Are we keeping, or any time information is brought to the agency's attention? Does that
No,
stay?
we can leave that,
We
yes.
can leave that, okay, and then we're
If
gonna
if we
put,
become aware of something at any other time, we can act on it as well.
all right, and then we're gonna get, it's gonna be after we talk about the local sales tax benefit violations, yeah, job deficiency, investment deficiency, and add, provided by the applicant by February 15th for the previous year.
Yes.
Okay. Is everybody good with that?
yes, I am.
Anything else?
At the end of that, page 18, it states the project agreement entered into between the agency and the company. And then it calls it project agreement, defines it as project agreement. I don't think that necessarily all agreements will be project agreements. There can be lease and lease back agreements. So I would just want to add the project agreement and/or straight lease transaction entered into between the agency and the company.
So this isn't being more generic than that by just saying that project agreement entered into, just calling it the project agreement?
Well, I don't think every agreement will be a project. There won't be a project agreement necessarily with every application. We can still define it for the terms of this document generically as project agreement, but I just want to expand that to include straight lease transactions.
Okay.
So are we adding that language in the parentheses?
No, I would suggest the project agreement and/or straight lease transaction
Okay, got
entered
it.
into.
In the first line, okay.
Okay.
And I don't have any other comments on the recapture, UTEP, or the approval of the policy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you for all that. Thank you.
Does Brian have any comments?
No, I'm good, fine with those.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Thank you.
A couple points. Since I'm a farmer, I feel I should comment on the agricultural component being taken out. And Bill and I had several conversations about that. And I don't think the IDA opportunities particularly fit with agriculture for a few reasons. There's a number of tax abatements for agriculture as of right in place if you meet certain criteria to receive those abatements. And on some of the life sciences and more high-tech projects that might be a step beyond the actual agriculture, maybe not, but some of those fit in other areas in our UTEP. So I'm comfortable with that. I think even though we would review this at our December meeting, we probably won't vote till January on the UTEP policy?
The full board won't vote until December, or January, correct,
Yeah,
until
okay.
January. Because we want to have it in final form, and then we need to put a notice out to all affected taxing jurisdictions that there
Oh,
will be,
right, yeah.
that it will be considered by the board, and there'll technically be a public hearing if anyone came and wanted to give comment on it. And that was really in Brian's, I was frankly trying to rush it and try and float it, get this, but be ready for next week. And Brian said, really, you need to have the final form when you put the notices out. So we would have had to put notices out a few weeks ago. And he's right, because if someone said, all right, I'd like to see it, we wouldn't have it in final form yet. So we will, and we won't put notices out until this draft includes all of the changes that were agreed upon this evening. Then we will distribute it to our board, distribute it to well, we won't share it with taxing jurisdictions. We just tell them that we are having a meeting to consider these changes. They have to request a copy of it if they want it.
So Jeff, I want to thank you for your comments on agriculture, having
welcome.
something in and then having to take it out,
Yes,
and especially
it's-
as it affects your business. I
Mhm.
appreciate your candor
Yes.
and how you
Yes.
place that. And if I'm hearing correctly, we can, out of this committee, recommend to the board to approve based on the changes that we've discussed today, and then final approval for UTEP will happen in January.
Correct,
Okay.
exactly.
Is everybody all the board members clear?
Clear.
So I think I need a motion to move this forward to the board based on the changes that we've discussed today, for them to approve the UTEP, and then we'll finalize that in January. Is that correct, Bill?
Correct.
Could I just clarify, because there's more than just the UTEP here, there's the recapture, and it would be all
In the
three?
project approval policy, it is all three.
Three,
Yes,
okay.
you're right. And I should have had that written in the agenda,
Yeah,
but
good.
it is the UTEP, project approval policy, and the recapture policy, correct.
So, okay, somebody would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we're gonna be using all three, UTEP, project approval, and the recapture policy.
Correct.
I need a second? Doctor, thank you, Doctor. Any conversation, any concerns, questions regarding the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so, old business is completed. New business, review the agency's policies. I guess do we want to really review these, or are we going to take
No,
this whole?
because it's too much,
Yeah, there's a lot
really.
in
The
here.
only thing not included in your binders are policies that we just added over the last year plus, that came out of our audit. We wanted a capitalization policy, a credit card policy. We just added those. We also just approved a policy for working with people with limited English proficiency
Correct.
for the EPA. I didn't include that as well.
Okay.
But everything else is included in here, and I've got my table of contents there: an audit services policy, compensation reimbursement and attendance policy, defense and indemnification policy, disposition of property policy, FOIL policy, investments and deposits policy, notice policy, procurement policy, travel policy, and whistleblower policy. We are supposed to review our policies each year, so that's why it's a lot to ask, but I am asking you to take the next month plus to review these, and then at our next governance committee meeting, to bring any proposed changes or not.
What I would ask, since this binder is not complete with the updated policies that we've already done,
Yes,
can we make sure that those are part of our binder? Because once we do
Definitely.
that, we can approve that in total.
definitely. This whole binder was a brilliant idea. I wish it was mine, but I give Giovanni the credit.
Thank
I
you.
do like the idea.
Good job.
So that's why we went with this. I didn't want to complicate it by adding the others, but I will, but I'll put it behind this.
I think it's important, but they're on the books, we've already approved them. That's how we do
Agreed.
business, let's put them in the binder, everybody's got them, and then we can do the entire binder.
Bill.
Yes, exactly, absolutely. There's a
Yeah,
little more work
yeah,
to do
this
on
is like
these.
a sad little binder.
You're right, it is a little, so.
Okay, I don't think, is there any other business that needs to come before the governance committee of the IDA?
No, there's not.
Okay, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, are we moving directly to the next?
You stop and start? Beautiful. Okay, ready when you are.
Oh.
OCFC.
We're ready.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the OCFC's Governance Committee. It's 4:29 in the afternoon. I'd like a roll call, please. Bill?
Linda Muller,
Here.
Giovanni Palladino,
Here.
Dean Tamburri,
Here.
Jeffrey Chris,
Here.
Dr. Vincent Oda.
Yeah.
All 5 members are here. Staff, Bill Fioravanti, Kelly Riley, Marty Barras, Mr. Jose Rojas. We have our general counsel, Rudy Zoda here, and Brian Sandage, our New York State monitor.
Okay, thank you. Our chair, Mr. Chris, sent out proof of notice, and that was done ahead of schedule. So I'd like to move immediately into the approval of the minutes of the November 20th meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. I hope you all had an opportunity to review them. Now that we have a motion on the floor, is there any changes, amendments to the minutes as you have received and reviewed them? Everybody says no. All right, we will call the question. All in favor of approving the minutes from the November 20th meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to be moving into old business, which is our bylaws update.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, we're going to be looking for a motion to go into an executive session to discuss potential changes to our bylaws with our general counsel.
Okay, what I ask is a motion to close the governance committee meeting now. Could I get a motion?
I don't know if we can do that. Can we do that, Rudy?
To go to executive, don't have to close, to go to executive and then reopen? No, I'm seeing
No,
no.
you just have to go
To executive.
to executive to discuss bylaws.
And we don't need a motion to do that?
We have to.
You
we
need a
do.
motion to go to executive.
Okay.
And
could
to come out, and then we'll need a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
at
could
the
I get
end.
a motion to go into executive session, please?
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, we have come out of executive session, and I would ask for a motion to recommend to the board that there be no changes after review of the bylaws for OCFC.
At this time.
Well, yeah, every year. We'll do this on an annual basis. So this is our annual review of our bylaws.
I guess my thought is we shouldn't lock out if we find something in the middle of the year.
Oh, you can change them anytime, but this
Yeah.
is the review of them for now,
At this
unless there was
time,
something else.
Yeah, good.
So I'd like a motion, please, to that effect.
Also move.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And may I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?